Welcome back to Takacs McGinnis Elder Care Law Hour, where we explore issues involving aging, disability, and unexpected illness. And in this episode, we're talking about residents' rights.
I'm Barbara McGinnis. Welcome back. So we are talking about residents' rights today. And who do you turn to when you think your rights have been violated? Well, we have a representative from the Upper Cumberland Ombudsman Program, an attorney, Marie Ferran. Welcome, Marie.
Thank you.
Just in case folks don't know, talk to us a little bit about what is the Ombudsman Program.
Well, the Ombudsman Program is an advocacy program for residents of long-term care facilities. Now, historically, an ombudsman, it actually came from Swedish Parliament, was kind of a neutral third party. You know, you were talking a little bit earlier about that. And but for our purposes, an ombudsman is a resident-centered advocacy program. We are mandated to try to reach resolution from the resident's perspective. So the Ombudsman Program, the long-term care Ombudsman Program, is unique in that respect.
Okay, so when you say mandated by who?
Mandated by the federal government.
Okay, all right, so since the federal government pretty much regulates the industry,
yes,
provides funds for the industry, then you're going into the facilities, or you are going into the facilities.
We are going into the facilities. We enter facilities in response to any complaints made by a resident or on behalf of a resident, and conduct investigations. We make routine visits to the facilities on a quarterly basis, either the ombudsman themselves or through the VOR program, Volunteer Ombudsman Representative Program. And so every facility is visited on a quarterly basis just for routine visits. And then in addition, of course, you have the complaint visits.
Mm-hmm. So what's the difference between the Ombudsman Program and Adult Protective Services?
Good question. So our jurisdiction extends only to licensed long-term care facilities. Adult Protective Services is the state agency that is charged with investigating and protecting vulnerable adults from abuse, neglect, and exploitation.
Wherever they are, right?
Wherever they are, exactly.
Okay. So does your jurisdiction sort of overlap?
It certainly does. Anytime there is an allegation of abuse, a report is generated called 1215, and for any report that occurs in a long-term care facility, the Ombudsman is notified, and then we often work with Adult Protective Services jointly to conduct our investigations and try and reach resolution.
Mm-hmm.
But like Adult Protective Services really does deal with abuse complaints, but the Ombudsman Program, you could be dealing with all kinds of complaints and concerns that someone just couldn't get resolved in a facility on their own.
Absolutely. I mean, it can be, I use this example probably ad nauseum, but, let's say that you love hot coffee, okay? And every morning when your coffee is served, it's tepid, it's lukewarm, you can't even drink it. Well, it's not like you can probably hop up and run to McDonald's or get, Starbucks and get that steaming hot cup of coffee. And so for someone who that's where they live and they have no one to turn to, that's an important issue. Now, we also deal with abuse. Obviously, abuse gets a quick turnaround, between 1 and 3 days if we get an abuse complaint.
Mm-hmm.
But every complaint deserves our time and attention, and so it can range from my coffee is cold to, someone hurt me.
Right. So that's like the coffee thing, which is not trivial.
No, it's not trivial.
I mean, because you're exactly right. That's a quality of life issue.
Yes.
And wherever you are, if you're in a licensed, healthcare facility or wherever is that you're entitled to, obviously, one, a safe and secure environment.
Right.
Second is you're entitled to some quality of life.
Exactly.
I'm going to assume that, like you would say, is the highest maximized quality of life.
Exactly, and that's what federal law demands.
Right, because you're paying a lot for this.
Right.
Or somebody is.
Yes.
And so in return you get that.
Yeah.
So how do you resolve these complaints? Okay, the coffee's, the food is poor, it's clearly substandard or whatever it is.
Yeah.
How do you resolve those?
So of course we go in and we start our investigation by talking to the resident, because if the resident's able to tell us, yes, I want to move forward with this, or I don't want to move forward with this, because the complaints don't always come directly from the residents. But once we have that go ahead, then it's if it's a food issue, we're going to talk to nutrition services. If we don't get, what we need from nutrition, we may go to the administrator. You kind of need to find within the facility who has the power to resolve the situation or change what is happening. If it's a care complaint, you're going to talk to, the nursing, so it just depends. But you're going to go in, you're going to conduct your investigation, interviews, and then try and reach a resolution that is satisfactory to the resident. And then we'll follow up, especially hopefully we have VORs in the facility, and we'll say, hey, go talk to Mrs. Smith and see if her coffee's better, or if they've stopped serving what she doesn't like at breakfast.
Right. Right. So when you move from your home into assisted living or a nursing home, I think when we're talking about long-term care facilities, we think of it being either place. I think of it as being either place, but from a license different. So when you move from your home into you don't give up your rights as a person. So we call them resident rights.
Right.
What are some of those rights?
Well, gosh, let me just give you a list, because it's easier than the right to voice complaints without fear of reprisal, to be free from abuse, to have privacy, to participate in social, religious, and community activities, to participate in your own care, to make decisions, to be treated with dignity and respect, and to be free from discrimination. Now, can I add that most common myth, and what a lot of elders believe when they enter a facility, I don't have any rights. I've moved into this institutional type setting, even if it's a really nice institutional type setting, and I don't have any rights. They've been checked at the door, and that is so not true.
Yeah. So where do those rights come from? Federal law?
Federal law and state law. Yeah, and state law. Absolutely.
So I was going to say they have the right to participate in their care, but including the right to refuse care. And this often becomes like a little bone of contention, because sometimes family members think the facility's supposed to make them do what they need to do, but the person's still a person, and they have a right to refuse.
Absolutely. At least once a week we'll get a call like that, and or I'm her power of attorney, and I'm telling them that she is going to take this medicine, but she doesn't want to, and
or
of course
take her shower,
or whatever it might be, and the resident always trumps what they say. Always trumps.
Now, I think on the flip side of that, sometimes I do think sometimes facilities use it as sort of an out and go, she said she didn't want to take her shower. Yeah, well, right, but she doesn't. She's not clean. She needs her shower. How do we present that in a way that we actually preserve her rights to refuse or direct, and make sure that
we find a lot of time we go and talk to the resident. They're not a morning person. Someone comes in at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever and says, time to get your shower. Like, you talk to me at 7 a.m. about a shower on a Saturday, you're going to get the same response. So work with that resident and figure out if there's a different time or a different day, or
so there's a difference between like a therapeutic necessity versus just a preference.
Of course.
Right.
And you don't give up the right to make those preferences, to not get up when everybody else gets up, to eat breakfast at 10 rather than 7.
Okay, so my mom's in a facility and I'm concerned about something. So how do I start?
Well, if it's in a facility, then you're going to want to call the Ombudsman, and I have that 800 number, and this will ring through. If you're calling from Nashville, it'll ring through to Nashville. So it'll ring through whatever district you're calling from.
Right.
And that number is 1-877-236-0013.
Okay.
And if you're in a facility, look for the Ombudsman poster.
There's a poster
because it'll tell you who your local Ombudsman is and how you can reach them.
I think we've got 30 seconds left. Okay, so we know there's a different Ombudsman for each area?
Yes, there's 9 development districts.
And there's a volunteer, and obviously we're going to put your contact information up. I'm certain you welcome volunteers.
We love volunteers. If you're interested in volunteering, all you need to have is a heart and time, and contact your local Ombudsman, and we will set you up with training.
All right,
awesome.
So great. Marie, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about residents' rights in a community setting.